Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional with a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, simply put, we're going to talk about the mess that is our United States of America government. Um, Everything is in chaos, from the tariffs on again, off again, up again, down again, the stock market, our treasured government departments and agencies, Social Security, education, Medicaid, Job Corps, you name it, it's off. The arts, museums, the Library of Congress, everything. And frankly, I can't imagine going through an additional 3 years with this kind of unrest and craziness. I mean, it's just so chaotic and it's so off putting. You don't know how to move, you don't know what to do next. So, my guests have something to say. This is a town hall. Hopefully, you guys have something to say too. Let's share this video widely, express your concerns. I really believe that when people talk, we get other ideas from one another. We educate and we teach each other something. And maybe we can teach our Congress people something too to get them off the stick, because something's got to give, guys. Okay, so let's make something happen together. All right, so my first panelist up is Trinette Stanford. There she is. Trinette is a certified health education specialist and certified nurse practitioner. She's an educator focused on cardiometabolic conditions as CEO of Totally About Diabetes. Trinette is also the president of the Southeast Alabama League of Women Voters. She serves on the leadership team of the South Alabama Black Women's Roundtable, where she supports policy advocacy and grassroots mobilization efforts. She is also the Alabama lead for Win with Black Women. Trinette is also a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. She and I are on the inaugural board of the Five Pearls Political Action Committee. Welcome to the show, Soror Trinette Stanford.
It's so glad to be here. Thank you, Pam, for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Soror,
All,
it was
all right. Okay. And next up, we have Jordan Googe. Jordan has an extensive background as an economic development, and he uses his talents combined with his engagement with local and state legislators in his native North Carolina. This provides a distinct advantage for his clients as they look to grow their real estate investments in the Tar Heel State. Jordan works diligently to support filmmakers and artists who choose to bring production and investment to North Carolina, and has served on the board of directors for the Little Theater of Winston-Salem and the 40 Plus Stage Company. He is on the board of directors of Authoring Action, an arts based nonprofit for at risk youth. Jordan has served as state political coordinator for Representative Potts here in North Carolina District 1, and was named a fellow with the North Carolina Institute of Political Leadership in 2023. Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Thank you very much, Pam. Flattered to be here with these esteemed guests on this panel today.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we have Devin Freeman. Devin just became an alum of North Carolina Central University, class of 2025. Devin has served in NCCU's Student Government Association as class president. He is the NAACP Youth and College North Carolina Political Action Chair. He is the vice chair for the Young Democrats of Durham. He is an author of a children's book. He did all this while in school, guys. Building a Better Block with Brandon. Devin's star is bright as he was chosen to introduce Vice President Kamala Harris on the campaign trail. And she literally called him by name on the national television. I saw it myself during the NAACP Image Awards. Devin is on his way to Cornell University. He's got his shirt on a full ride scholarship to obtain his master's in public policy. Welcome to the show, Devin.
Hey, it's good to be here, Pam. It's good to see you all, especially with the lovely panelists on this panel this evening. So glad to be here and grateful for the conversation that we're about to have tonight.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we have Miss Noemi Lujan Perez. Noemi is an award winning public policy and PR executive and political strategist. She specializes in public affairs and strategic initiatives for Fortune 500 brands, government agencies, and nonprofits. Her portfolio includes developing and implementing national PR and marketing campaigns, diversity initiatives, and stakeholder engagement. She too is a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Soror. Welcome back to the show, Noemi.
Thank you, and glad to log in from Los Angeles, California. Beautiful Los Angeles, California.
Yes, yes. Oh boy, we've got some people that's make comments already. Oh Lord. Renee started already. LA police just declared unlocked. Yeah, we know. Hello, everyone. That's our soror too. Noemi and Trinette is Loretta. Let's see, John. Hey, John. Hey, Latrice. Hello, Lee Barber. Hey, Samaj. Samaj is also our soror. That was not by design. That just happened like that, right? Okay, guys, let's get this conversation started. Okay, so I'm going to ask this one question and we're just going to round robin it. Trinette, you first, Jordan, then Devin, then Noemi, or however, you guys can jump in. What do you perceive to be the number one issue that we, the people, are dealing with right now? Right now. Trinette?
The biggest issue is the unlawful behavior of the regime right now, overstepping his boundaries. Why did he have to call in the National Guard? That is not his position. Mm-hmm. That is at the governor's discretion. And if the governor didn't see that there was a threat, that should have been it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jordan, same question.
Well, certainly, we've been aware of a decline in the awareness of an appropriate understanding of American democracy and three co-equal branches of government. And unfortunately, now we've definitely seen with what we're seeing in Los Angeles right now, a lot of, I'll politely say, concerning steps that have nothing to do with a proactive engagement of American democracy. And politely, I'll just say just a very, very concerning series of engagements from someone who you would think would know better, but unfortunately chooses not to be better.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Devin?
Yeah, so my thoughts is what comes to mind, especially for my generation or myself, is the attacks on dismantling the Department of Education that Trump is doing. We saw, especially during his first 100 days, what he's been doing in regards to just privatization of school choice initiatives, as well as attacking academic freedom and curriculum. We're looking at what he's been doing, attacking the Ivy Leagues, specifically Columbia, as well as Harvard. And then also we're talking about undermining some of the DEI initiatives, which is also having a snowball effect, which is undermining civil rights as well as protections for marginalized students. So when we talk about these things, we have to recognize that education is the keys for tomorrow. It's the passport, as Malcolm X has spoken before. And the other thing, too, is about when he is attacking some of these institutions to take away not only the education, but also taking away international students to be able to attain. This is an issue because we have to recognize that true education happens inside the classroom from having a diversity of thought. And so when you take away certain marginalized groups of people, as well as international people, and displace them outside the classroom, that's when we start having divide, and that's when we're not really developing our future leaders. And so that's how I look at it. It's like, how is it that Trump not only is attacking, but how is that we, the people, also continue to protect academic freedom, as well as making making sure that we have more support for public education.
Well, that's a good that's a mouthful, Devin, and also true about education. We're having Noemi, your thoughts?
Bottom line, it's the look, I can't even speak. Delegitimizing, delegitimizing institutions
Mm-hmm.
that hold our systems accountable
Mm-hmm.
and in balance. I think that's the number one thing. So whether it's starting with the Department of Justice, right?
Yeah,
Delegitimizing that, delegitimizing all the components therein, EEO,
right.
attacking law firms,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, even with what's happening in Los Angeles, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is unnecessary that the National Guard be deployed. Truly,
Mm.
I really think it's an attempt to delegitimize the governance of the governor and the
Mm-hmm.
city mayor.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, he has an axe to grind with them for sure. For sure. But Gavin Newsom also said, look, we how much money do we're not a state that really takes the money. We're the one who contributes
Gives the money.
$80 billion. So perhaps we don't pay we won't pay into the coffers. How you like that? So we'll see. I don't know how this thing is going to end. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Um, One of the things that Devin mentioned was about education and what have you. You guys, the biggest blow that I saw that made my mouth drop was the Job Corps situation. Taking away Job Corps. And as you know, a lot of the young people that go into Job Corps, they usually have some problems at home and they may not even have a traditional home life setting or anything. It's like their last stop situation to get their lives together to be on track to live. And I want to share a post that that I pulled up on that. Okay, you see it? Everyone see it? You guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So this I don't know who she is. I suspect she's an educator with Job Corps. Uh and oh, so she's talking about Congressman Don Davis. That means she's here in North Carolina. Yeah. Yeah. So she says how her aches about the consequences of the Trump administration and Department of Labor's decision to evict students from the Kittrell Job Corps Center that is here in North Carolina. She's dedicated 30 years of her life shaping and transforming these young lives. And she says there's something misleading information from the Doge report that has led to this crisis. As I said earlier, these are all vulnerable students. They were given a 5-day notice, now face uncertain futures. Some have returned to shelters, y'all, and back home to unsafe environments. It pains me to see them feeling rejected by a system meant to protect them. Job Corps, as the largest residential workforce development program for 16 to 24-year-olds, is essential for this special population. And she tagged, I don't know who Melissa Elliott is, but she definitely tagged Congressman Don Davis about this. And she's taking a picture here with some of her students. So basically, hold on. So does anybody, have any of you had any interactions with Job Corps or known people that have been involved with that at all? No, I haven't either, really. I've certainly know about it, but I don't know of
No,
any.
I have.
Oh, you have, Trinette?
Yeah, I know some people who they were able to continue their education because of Job Corps. They were able to start their career to get them on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
and they finished the curriculum at Job Corps, and then they were able to go on to college and further their education even more. In fact, it was highlighted on Urban View Radio last week. They
Uh-huh.
did extensive interviews with different people who called in that said that they were products of Job Corps
Okay.
and how they have gone on to be CEOs of companies and very successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like you said, they were evicted out of their home, out of their facilities with very little notice and didn't have anywhere to go. And like there was a parent, they did tell a story where there was a parent who was supposed to be going in to have cancer surgery next week, but because they evicted her child out of Job Corps, she had to cancel her surgery
Oh.
and in order to address this issue to make sure her child was safe. So,
No.
on the surface, it may look, well, that's not such a big deal. Yes, it is, because look at the domino effect it can have.
Yes. Yes.
But this regime, and I call it a regime,
Mm-hmm.
Maya came to a conference I was at, and she talked about the regime, how they are determined to strangle all of people and marginalize. They want to do everything they can in order to dismantle the Department of Education, because education is our key to freedom.
Yes.
And if they take education away from us, they figure, okay, we have them, but they forget that we are resilient people,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going to take care of ourselves, and we're going to take care of our people.
Right.
What I will add, though, just for clarification, so there is a temporary legal injunction on that,
Mm-hmm.
which just means that for now,
Right.
right,
Right.
the doors are not closed. However, right,
Right.
whether you're a staffer or a student, it basically it's like an hour to hour, day by day situation.
Right.
You really do have to prepare for the inevitable. Um, and I think it's a reflection of most of that legal process is an important process.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that all of these institutions that are being delegitimized, right,
Mm-hmm.
lean into. Which again, which is why I flagged the law, the legal piece of delegitimizing that,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the legal systems, right, that provide that process. I
Mm-hmm.
really look back. The first attacks were against the law, the Department of Justice,
Yes, it
Mhm.
was.
those legal components. We didn't understand exactly what was going on,
Right.
other than, okay, he has an axe to grind. He's going to knock people out so that he can put his people in. We see what it is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first layer of pulling people out so that as they start chopping things up, whether it's the Department of Education, to Devin's point or Trinette's point on Job Corps, they weren't expecting people to still have legal recourse,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And then you see now that they're trying to delegitimize federal judge
Yes.
privy freebie, right? In terms of what they are able to rule on and their implications.
Mm-hmm.
But the Job Corps is just one of many things, right? We're
Right.
looking at pre-K being
Yeah.
defunded. We're looking at Pell Grants, right?
Yes.
Potentially being defunded. We're looking at SNAP benefits, which are, they're,
Please.
they're not just about helping poor Americans receive, food benefits. They actually help farmers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Because that's the farmer's bread and butter.
right. That's right. That is absolutely correct.
And when they dismantled USAID,
Yeah.
Oh,
that
Oh,
was another
yeah.
cog that that impaired the farmers. Because
Bankrupted some of them. Going to anyway.
yeah, because the farmers that they were exporting goods.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that door is closed.
Right. Right.
If,
It's
if I may, Pam.
yes. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And so one of the things we need to start paying attention to, and it's something that was flagged to me by a dear friend who's a federal employee or outgoing, right?
Mhm.
Because almost all of them have been scrubbed. The new rules have started to trickle out of OPM, right? So there's been an attempt, not an attempt, there has been an effort to pull people out of their jobs to scrub funding from programs.
Mhm.
OPM started rolling out their rules on
Mhm.
how the Trump administration is going to initiate the new hiring process for the federal government. Pay attention.
Mhm. The new hiring
The
process.
new hiring process.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
They must so they scrubbing out all these offices, right? All these jobs, and then they're going to initiate a hiring process for new jobs to fit whatever mold they're looking for. Part of the requirement for
Pledge
this
loyalty.
process is that they absolutely, what Trinette said, they have to pledge loyalty to
Loyalty.
Trump.
Mhm.
Insane. Totally
Have to
insane.
kiss the ing.
Insane. Jordan, I'm gonna come to you.
Yes,
I,
ma'am.
I know that you are our economic development guy,
There you go.
state guy. You're here in the Triangle region where we've got the wonderful, amazing Research Triangle Park. We've got all of these major universities. Duke University, which is the largest employer in Durham, North Carolina. They've just announced layoffs and potentially other cutbacks and buyouts and what have you, which is unheard of in all the years that I've lived here. And so, from your perspective as a realtor, a real estate investor person, what are you saying? What are you hearing?
Well, I guess, and to second all of your points, and specifically Devin's, I think that the education component plays a lot, and I'll circle back to that in a minute. But it seems like, from an investor standpoint, more folks are looking to invest more multifamily units that they could probably make some capital improvements in. But I think the main thing that kind of is more of where my bread and butter is with economic development would be in industrial development with warehouses and whatnot. And I know probably for the last several years in North Carolina, industrial construction costs have gone up about 3 to 4% a year. And probably that's what would have happened if Vice President Harris had been elected. It would stay on that track.
Mhm.
But now a lot of builders, and whether I had a building for sale in Welcome, North Carolina, in Davidson County, just south of Winston-Salem. And I think the tariff cost would have increased the price probably 25 or 50%. What would have cost maybe $10 or $15 a square foot to build previously, now with these tariffs would have increased to 25 or 30 or $40 a square foot minimum. I think the main concern is that I think people try to tie this into the idea about that I would just politely call it a false narrative. They're going to bring back manufacturing jobs in the United States.
Yeah.
I think, again, most of us have a reasonable understanding that the point of manufacturing is to optimize your process, and as optimization happens in manufacturing, as with everything else, that requires less humans and more machines. So I don't know who they think they're going to hire to work in these factories. That, previously when we had a manufacturing boom, it's because we had whatever we thought was the highest level of technological advancement at the time, and it was. But you would need 3 shifts of workers that obviously, unless you just had a very altruistic company owner. Part of the job is profits, and part of that goal is to pay people as little as possible when they're working on the floor. So unions came in to obviously save the American economy in that capacity. But again, to get back to Devin's a specific point about education, I think that's obviously there's a war against education, public education in general. But I worry. They have many. Obviously, the current administration basically has a war on poor people or anybody who doesn't specifically look like me. And part of that, and I think you're finally starting to see some pushback in the state of Florida from different groups. But if the current administration and their way of thinking is to vilify women, why would you, as a responsible young woman, want to go to college in a state where you're being villainized and victimized? Why would you want to do that? And why would responsible parents encourage their daughters to go to college in a state that would do that? So automatically, from a workforce development standpoint, outside of related to education, if people don't want to move, don't want to go to college because they don't feel safe in your state, what reasonable company would want to move production to your state? Why would executives want to have their families move there? So it's, again, to get back to the education component. And obviously part of the issue, I think, and I obviously kind of stay in my wheelhouse about North Carolina, but obviously it's being seen at the federal level as well. And I think we've also seen it with whenever Louis DeJoy was made the Postmaster General, that everything that Republicans would say, oh, it's terrible, oh, it's this, oh, it doesn't work. Well, it did work. There are problems with everything. You always want to find optimal ways of doing things, redefine your process. But the Mr. DeJoy, in his role as Postmaster General, you saw he was implementing a lot of the problems that caused delays.
Right.
It's in the same way that the current administration or people of that ilk. And God bless poor Linda McMahon. I guess she had too many tombstone pile drivers or DDTs. In her work with the WWE. But her complete misunderstanding, and I think you see that with a lot of the folks. Secretary Noem was questioned the other day and seemed to have zero idea what habeas corpus meant. And obviously, if you go back and watch the clip, what she thinks it meant, that I think she said something to the tune that habeas corpus meant the president had the right to detain people.
Yeah, that's what she said.
And then she said that they were going to reverse habeas corpus, which, if that's what it meant, why would she be in favor of repealing it? But I think we just have, it's just this thing where there's a lot of threads going in. But I think obviously, we probably need to get back to a culture of kindness and inclusivity. And, a culture of hate's not going to win. And I think that's the other issue trying to run into and speaking with, and I try to be a policy focused person and try to work with people and navigate through things and do my best to not try to attribute motives to their actions as much as possible. But I think we're finding ourselves in a spiral downwards, whether it's with education or all these other things, that these are basic building blocks.
Right.
And education is not the villain. And I try to respect people's religious beliefs and to engage that. And I certainly think if people in Christianity, for instance, I'd say if people actually focused on the actual teachings of Jesus and all those things, that it was about helping people. It was about feeding and clothing and engaging, and not about building walls. It was about building bridges and building tables that everyone could sit together.
Another show, Jordan. That's a whole nother show. We've done Christian nationalism, and that's
it's an unfortunate, grotesque misunderstanding that I think I think people are having proactive conversations. I don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think again the issue with education, again with most things, that people they fear what they don't understand. But unfortunately, with the administration now and with folks who support it, they have a active engagement in not learning, and they have an active engagement in not being intellectually curious, and they have an active, specific engagement of not being thoughtful. And at the end of the day, people, I remember, in Minneapolis, they had riots there, and I'm sure that there's going to be a talking point among the narrative about, that people can't believe that their community is being attacked. Well, the people that they claim to be attacking them, those are people they've gone out of their way to marginalize and intentionally not let be members of the community.
Of course. Let me jump. Yeah. Let me get Devin in here.
Yeah,
Devin,
sorry.
Your big thing was education and what have you, for obvious reasons, but you're our only Gen Zer on this panel. And with that said, I really feel, and we know this to be true, is that we're going to all be looking to your generation to really do the heavy lifting, like literally like the generation of World War II people that really brought freedom and freed the world from Hitler and all of that mess. And literally, I believe that the Gen Z generation, you all are the next great generation that we will be looking to get us out of this dark hole that we're in, that we're steadily climbing into. What are some of the conversations that you're having with some of your peers about what's going on and what have you?
That's a great question. Thanks so much, Pam. So what the conversation I've been able to have with my peers, especially navigating like postgraduate life, is in particularly like how is it that we're going to really focus on getting a job as well as starting our careers. That's what a lot of people are focusing on right now. And the issue, especially within the job market, is not being able to find a job. As we're starting to see, going back into what you're talking about, Job Corps wise, we're starting to see like this is the most highest historic unemployment rate that we've had for recent college graduates, have at 5.8%. Especially with young men, it's averaging at 9.6%. And then also all together within the nation, unemployment rate is at 41.2%. When you look at these numbers itself are very disturbing. And when you're talking about recent graduates received from the HBCU lens, it takes a recent graduate historically to get 8 months out of college in order to get a 9 to 5 full-time job. And then for PWIs, at least it takes around 3 to 4 months in order to get the job full-time. And when we look at these things, we're starting to see these dynamics of like the discrepancy, and then also with the way the economy is, we're starting to see more of a pullback of jobs because of what Jordan had said earlier about automation. So when we think about these things, we're starting to see that there's a lot of uncertainty, and that's what my generation is having to navigate. Not only being able to get independence, but also have their families be able to put food on the table in the future, and also being able to they want to get further education, they may being able to do so. However, because we're seeing these cuts on education, or it's having these snowball effects of these things, as well as we're starting to see the cutbacks in the workplace. So that's what my generation is currently dealing with right now. But there's a lot of hope, because when we talk about how is it that we build a better tomorrow, it starts with the work today. Because my generation are the present leaders and not just the leaders of tomorrow. I think a lot of people get caught up in yes, we're going to be the Avengers. Yes, we're going to do this. But truly, I think it's a intergenerational bridge that we have to build together amongst the generations that get us all together, because you can't solely rely on one generation in order to get us done. We have to not only rely on older people, but also younger people as well, not just my generation, but generation like after us, in particular high school and middle school students, and teaching about civic literacy, as well as not just civic literacy, but also financial literacy, because financial literacy will be the next civil rights movement. So when I look at these things and I see not only the inequities but inequalities that's going on, it's about how's it that we all come together. And I want for us to not necessarily put pressure on Gen Z, but how's it that we put the same pressure on all of us to do the work to get things done. Because I truly look at it as like it's all one America, not specifically just like one demographic. And even though my demographic plays a part of it, and it's all demographics that do, and I believe truly we have to have more of a conversation, just like what is it that we can do outside of office in order to do like civic or political initiatives that give us what we want, because politics is all about power, and we're understand the dynamics of power itself, as well as how we can pull and push the different levers. That is
Mhm.
truly how we can see changes in education and everything. When we talk about politics, politics is all local. Like, and particularly, how do we advocate our local school boards? How does it advocate our local school education systems? And more than anything, how we're trying to do put more jobs on the marketplace. Like, are we actually talking to small as well as big businesses to come and get jobs in our local communities? So these are things that we need to start looking at, in particularly looking at trade school options as well. So that's something that in closing, I truly think that even though things may look down or depressed, we have
Mhm.
to look at history as history, that the more things change, the more they actually stay the same. And we are still fighting things that we've been fighting for since the 1900s, if not earlier. But we're fighting not to necessarily go back, but to make sure that we're pushing forward and trying not to lose protections that we had before. So that's
Mhm.
why I try to remind people is that don't let this moment in time get you to despair, rather than how is it that you continue to do the work, be knowledgeable, and understand about what it is and contextualize it and being able to fight for the passions that you're fighting for.
Right. You know what, guys? In
We're
what
excited about tonight. Y'all
what
know as people.
what was that?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
No.
What I was gonna will tell you guys one thing that as Devin was talking, I was thinking about something that I just saw before the show came on, was this discrepancy between um what's happening in the DNC right now. The chair and David Hogg. I can't think of the chair's name, but you know, David Hogg is second in
It's
command.
Martin.
David, what's his name? Martin.
It's
What's his name?
Martin. DNC Chair Martin.
Yeah. So David, God bless him. You know, he went through the Parkland shooting and all of that, and we've seen him rise with all of those. You know, really trying to motivate to try to get our country together on the gun laws and gun safety and all this type of stuff. And so I don't know what's your opinion. I'm curious, Noemi and Trinette in particular. You guys, what's your all of your opinions really? What's your thought on this argument that David has? When I look at it, just from my lens, I look at it that he's trying to shake up the party and say, look, if y'all not doing nothing, go sit down. We're going to fund the people that are going to do something and not use this as a placeholder for collecting money and favors. That's the way I viewed it. Some other people told me, no, that's not what he's doing. He's trying to be too much or whatever. But what do you think? I mean, he's young. I'm listen. I tend to be for the young people myself. But anyway,
Yeah, this is I'm a DNC member as well, so I was elected representing the my congressional district for Durham and at the DNC this
mhm,
past national convention, and then also I've served in different capacities, being the precinct chair for Durham Dems 5549, as well as the vice chair for Young Dems in Durham. And so,
mhm,
from what I can tell from the political landscape and the Democrats speaking freely, what I see David Hogg doing is essentially what you're saying, Pam, is trying to not necessarily cause a disturbance, but more so cause like a more of awareness of this is some of the things that we should be focusing on, and bringing
mhm,
in not just new blood, but also a new way of doing things. In particular, when we're looking at politics right now, where we keep onto the hinging onto this old way of politics, rather than like if we're in
mhm.
unprecedented times, we have to be in
I know
and
what you're saying.
unconventional ways
Yes,
in order to get things done. And that's what his whole battle is about. If we know we have certain incumbents in Congress right now that are not speaking up, not necessarily pushing different bills, and also not addressing certain like new social issues that's going on, why is it that we do not support other candidates that are Democrats in the primaries in order to beat those incumbents coming into the primaries? But the other argument to that is what Chair Dan Martin's been talking about, is about like, the bottom line is Democrats should not be fighting amongst Democrats. And we've seen that play out in regards to just like us trying to rebuild our image as well as rebuild the brand and just rebuild like what is it that we truly stand for as a party. So I get both sides. My two qualms with it is one, I truly don't think they need to be doing a vote in order to get David Hogg out. And my second thing is I truly hope that both of them be able to come to one accord and be able to do things behind closed doors in order to find a way about how is it that we can do both. No, I'm not saying that we necessarily have to go out and help other Democrats be incumbent Democrats that are currently in Congress or in their respective state general assemblies. However, I do believe that we can help the current members who are help them and prepare them with different strategies of how they can go against the new threat that is today's current climate. And I truly think that what the main issue that's going on and that's confusing a lot of people is that why is it the Democrats look like we don't have our stuff together? Like you see,
Exactly.
right?
That's the whole point.
And then that's what's going on right now is and people are analyzing and stuff like that is that when you look at why we lost at the in this past election, people keep placing blame on Joe Biden and other factors, which is part of it. But the main part of it is also when you look closely at the data and you also look at on the county level of actually people going out to vote, you're starting to see the change, especially in New York and also other blue states on the county level, that you have a progressive, more of a conservative movement of counties turning red instead of blue. And that's been happening since 2012. That's been going on now because when you look at different qualitative polls, you're starting to see that people don't have a good description of what the Democrat Party is. When you look at what people, everyday people look at the Democrat Party, it seems like they pander to educated people as well as they're catering towards people within this upper class. But the Republicans have been able to successfully be able to carry their message more towards the working class people. And when people think of the Democrats, people think of a few like Bernie Sanders, AOC, like the progressive left, and think that they make all decisions and that we care about a lot of these viewpoints that which we do care in high regards. However, it's that when the average everyday working person is looking for what we're doing about the economy, what we're doing about workers' rights, XYZ, and which a lot of people are voting red because of that. And I truly think if we're able to fix the messaging and know that you shouldn't be voting against your interests and your past true aligns with the Democrats, then that's how we can start seeing that change. But again, going back to my point before, we're seeing way too much divide, and this divide is not helping anybody. And
Right.
truth be told, it needs to be cut. I don't know who needs to say it. Maybe it needs to come from the
We're
top.
going to get Noemi to say it. Noemi, I know.
Meat and potatoes issues. There used to be a time when the Democratic Party used to actually poll Democrats to identify priority issues. Somehow that has gone away. And somehow there are individuals, right, influencing the party on individual or niche issues. Those niche issues are what's causing the division within the party. And the party is steadily losing voters, right? Either they're veering to the conservative side of the spectrum or simply not voting, right? Because the Democratic Party is no longer representing our meat and potato issues. Okay. And I have to say this. A lot of these niche issues are being driven by our progressives. And so at what point in time do you drive a progressive issue at the expense, right, of an entire party, at the expense of an entire campaign? So to the point of Hogg, bless his heart, right? But he's representing or driving on niche issues. And he is willing to quote unquote put money against diehard Democrats that have been reelected time and time again and have become the veterans within the party, right? He is willing to primary them because of his niche issues. So the whole progressive piece has to be revisited for the sake of the party. Okay. And again, at the end of the day, it really comes down to meat and potatoes. It's the workforce development, right? Economic development, education, housing. Those
Mhm.
are our key issues.
Mhm.
As a Democratic Party, we're not talking those things anymore, and that's a concern.
Trinette, what do you say to that?
Well, I was in a conference last week, and there were some posters that brought their polling results, and they were saying the reason that we lost was because, and they brought out the issues that people were saying that was important to them, but
Mhm.
the party was not addressing them. So
Mhm.
we need to go back to talking to the people,
Mhm.
finding out what it is that interests them, and then building a platform around that,
Mhm.
as opposed to listening to the other elite that have always been in the party. And the other thing is, some of the candidates, well, some of the officials that have been in office, they know they're old and they're sick.
Right.
They need to give up their office.
Right.
They need to, they need to go to the house.
Right. But why they not going to the house?
I don't know why they're not going to the house. That's how we ended up with a mess in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because if RGB had, she knew she was sick.
I know, but you know what? I think they had this plan. She was supposed to swear in Hillary, and they had this plan. You know how us girls do. We think be talking, girl. Yeah, I'm gonna swear you in, and whatever, and we gonna be good, and all that. And then, of course, it didn't happen. It was a mess.
And then
Yeah.
Sotomayor right now is the one with the
Mm-hmm.
health issues.
Yeah. Well, and they were hoping that she would have stepped down while Biden was in office, but at the same time, the the Dems didn't have charge of the Senate. So you still with that mess like with McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
know we're caught in a mess, and we're really in the quagmire now. But at the same time, we need to listen to the people.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Listen to the people, what's important to them,
Mm-hmm.
and then build a platform around those things.
Someone
Mm-hmm.
someone wrote that Auntie Maxine has to go. We want the Auntie Maxines to stay. Well, I'll speak to myself. Those old heads,
Yeah.
those old
Yeah, we
heads
need
are the
wisdom.
ones that can be the loudest
Mm-hmm.
because they are in secure seats. And so again, this idea of trying to push out carte blanche, right? The old people, as we want to call them, right? Those
Mm-hmm.
stalwarts, because they're old, or because they're more on moderate or meat and potatoes issues. There's something wrong with our thinking. So let me just put that out there. I'll give you this one, Trinette. We knew that Barbara Boxer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That is someone that everyone knew her health was ailing really badly,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and she stayed, reluctantly, until her death. But those other ones, gosh, imagine if we said the same thing about Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give some of these older, Dems and independents, in the case
Right.
of Bernie, the leg room, the runway to play.
Mm-hmm. Well, we gotta, the other thing too is, guys, we got to. What my concern is that when you are a Maxine, Auntie Maxine, when you are, I can't think of some of the other ones, or Chuck Schumer, or any of these guys, who do you have coming up behind you?
Right.
Who do you have?
Yeah.
There should always be. I should know
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
They
about a
should be grooming somebody.
that's
Agreed.
being groomed up behind these people, where they know where all the money, how to raise money, where they know
Mm-hmm.
where the little pockets and the side tricks and the little back door stories about people, to know who to trust and who not to. All of that kind of grooming for someone such as himself, that kind of energy needs to be spent. And I just don't think that we do that. And the chat is jumping. Jordan, what do you say about that? What do you say about
Well,
old
yeah.
head?
Sorry, I guess the short answer would be, if we're not going to have the conversations within the family, it's unrealistic to have them try to go against the other side. But I probably would say, you know, I I don't want to condense it to thank you for your service, have a good day, but I would say there are tremendous opportunities for the establishment folks. Again, we need to have succession planning in place. We need to be people obviously have taken the word groom to mean something else now. Obviously, that's terrible, but we need to have people educated and trained and brought up and feel confident to
Right.
go up to be leaders in this party. But I think also, and again, to the point about thanking people for their service, I think they were very impactful in their time. I think they were very, they've accrued knowledge over time. But I
Right.
think they specifically spoke to issues that were relevant when they were in their 20s, 30s, or 40s. And politely, they were in their 20s and 30s and 40s before I was born. And that was, I think Jimmy Carter was on the way out and President Reagan was coming in then. People are going after David Hogg. I think that's the wrong. Number one, don't do it in public. Number two, again, if we're going to be the party of understanding and inclusivity, sit down and listen to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman, Ken Martin and Chairman Martin, I don't know a lot about him, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't in middle school, elementary school, or high school when somebody came in and killed a bunch of his classmates. I think the issues we're running into now are not are issues that people of previous generations, specifically boomers and other things, are not geared to have any practical, functional, day-to-day understanding.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying shut up and go home. I'm saying thank you for your service. And I'm saying stay engaged and be a leader in the party and be when people retire from professional sports, sometimes they become coaches or executives. You need people in those roles to build confidence, to team build. They could be excellent fundraisers. They could do a number of things.
Right.
But if we're again, because we don't have these succession plans in place, who are the state senators? Who are the people in city councils? Who are the people that, had a career in the arts or real estate or banking or law or teachers or all this, getting them transitioned and plugged in? What are we doing to help nurture those people and help lift them up and give them the skill sets to lift themselves up even farther to fill those roles?
Devin, are y'all having some of those types of transition, succession type of conversations? Has that come up?
So I haven't heard anything as of recent in regards to like transitions and conversations of that caliber. I mean, from what I know from before in the past, is like I've heard things, just read things as well about President Barack Obama, him helping out with talking to different members of Congress, especially within the Democrat Party, helping them with some of the things that they're dealing with, especially with AOC among other members, helping them with coaching in a way. But you don't really hear too often members going out their way in order to do so. And what I'll also say too is I do think there needs to be more of a mentoring, more coaching capacity that could be more instrumental within the Democrat Party. What I will say about succession plan is more so the succession plan of how it worked. What I've seen while working in Congress was the fact of it's more so about like the age as well as just the time that you've had in office to be able to sit on different chairing different committees in Congress. And what that looks like compared to the Republicans is in particular you can buy your seat as well as you don't have to serve as long in order to get into different committees versus the Democrat Party. We do it by priority as well as who served the most and has the most time in it. So that's something that I wish we could change our system in a way of like, how's it that we develop people that once we're about to go out, who can we really talk to and make sure that we're passing the baton for them to take the next steps. And
Right.
I truly think, what were you about to say?
I was just saying, right. I'm just
Yeah,
pass.
so that's all. That's all I have to say. I truly think we got to focus on what is it that we're doing with young people, and then on top of that, on the local and state level, how's that we're helping them transition to the federal level if they choose to do so.
Right. Right. You know what, guys? I have the news on. Oh boy, they got vehicles on fire, and amongst this LA immigration protest they're showing on the news now.
It's not that bad.
No, but it's just like but you know how it is. But listen, I'm gonna.
They want to fuel the fire.
Yes, literally.
They want to incite something.
Right.
In order to try to justify what they're doing.
Noemi, I want to ask you who this group is. I'm going to show this clip. Hold on a second, guys.
Is it Chirla?
I don't know who it is. I was hoping you going to tell me. Let me see. Oh, it's this one. Okay, hold on. Who are they?
Okay, so I've seen this video go viral. Believe it or not, this is the LA Galaxy fan team. So the LA Galaxy is the soccer team in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so somehow that has been purposely going out. That group has nothing to do with anything that's going on right now. It's
really?
It's just a well-organized fan team with a great song, right?
Yeah, I heard the song. I can't playing in this video that I'm showing now.
But you see how easily social media can misconstrue, right?
Yes. Okay, let me show you this other clip. Now, I think this clip is this one. Let me go back. Oh, hold on. I gotta go back.
Yeah, LA, Inglewood, LA, City of Champions. We have some great sports teams, and with that, great fan bases.
Hold on a second. Let me see. I think no. I think this is it. Yeah, it's this one. Now, this is the one that they claimed that we won. We ran ICE out, and of course. And somebody wrote "Return of the Alamos."
So, so let's be clear, right? ICE did raid, ICE did apprehend, right? ICE vehicles were pelted, right? So in effect, the cars were really trying to get out as soon as possible. So if you want to interpret that as running them out. Sure, but they ran out with apprehended people.
Okay.
Let me say this, in terms of the protests, Los Angeles has been home to some very violent protests in the past. Obviously, the Rodney King riots in 1992, but also the Watts riots, right?
Yes.
This is minor. I wouldn't consider them as riots. I think that there are demonstrations. Yes. There have been some vandalism involved. Does it require the National Guard? No. Does it require the Marines? Right, and that's the other thing that the president is threatening. He's threatening to deploy Marines from Camp Pendleton.
I know that freaks me out completely.
And I believe it was Trinae that was making the point. I think what he's trying to get, he's trying to find the excuse to initiate martial law, to initiate the Insurrection Act, right? Yes. And so, the trick to get around this is, all right, everybody at night, go home.
Right.
Start over the next day, right?
Yeah. They can just fool them and say, okay, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Right. We just got to be smarter. We got to be smarter, and we just have to be. And I think that if you're very active on social media or whatever, and you're doing any traveling this summer, if you're going out of the country and whatnot, use a burner phone. Do not use your devices that you use all the time that got all your social media and stuff. I'm speaking to myself.
No. That attorneys are advising people that, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm so sure. So, any last thoughts of what should we do, guys? We need to. I know one thing. We need to call our Congress people about the big that big ugly bill. What is that number? 20224.
Listen, if Elon Musk has anything to do with it, he's going to initiate some calls to Congress members too. He opposes it.
Yeah, I don't trust it. You notice how he deleted his tweets, but like as if it doesn't live on forever. Okay, like we didn't see it.
He opposes the bill for different reasons than the layperson does.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let me look up the Congress phone number, make sure I got it right. US Congress switchboard, so that we can all call, because you can call this number 24/7, guys, 3121, and call your senators. And because we do not want that, I mean, if it passes, we lose so many things, and there's so much other garbage in there.
My senator, I think he disconnects his phone.
And you're in Alabama.
Yes, where I have a brilliant senator. I'll just leave it like that.
Yeah.
We've had a rash of our elected officials in DC avoiding constituents at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and we paid their salaries.
100%. And I'd say definitely for everybody on this great panel and folks listening, I mean, we also need people to run. We need passionate lovers of democracy that understand we have 3 co-equal branches of government for a reason.
Right.
And we're a nation of laws, not of a few opinions. So.
Right. Absolutely. Any last thoughts, parting thoughts, guys? Anybody? Let's see. Somebody's got something to say here. Do you think the test will spread to other blue cities? Renee has that question to you guys.
Yes.
Yes. Noemi says yes. Trinette, I know you in a real red state.
I mean, it's so red. But we have, it's called the blue dot.
Uh-huh.
And people with the blue dot, they have been protesting like every week.
Okay, blue dot.
So, yeah. And in some of the smaller cities, because the thing about it is, even though we're red, we're also poor.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about cuts to Medicaid and cuts to SNAP and all that affects a majority of our citizens. So yes, they're up in arms about it.
Yeah, and I learned through this whole Doge process that the University of Alabama is your largest employer.
Yes, the university.
I didn't know
yes, it's the largest employer. Plus, it's a research hospital.
Right.
And the sad thing is, they have lost some of the top surgeons and physicians because they were on visas.
Yeah.
So they had to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And they are what, $70 million cut, $70 million cut in funding. And we're talking about stroke, cancer, all of the major things.
Yes.
That's being affected.
Yes.
So and then plus NIH, and especially the argument that we have with the Health and Human Services Secretary.
Oh God, please.
And
such a joke. All of these people are just jokes. It's just it's embarrassing that one young kid that just barely made it out of college, and he's got some big position that he's qualified for. Is ridiculous. Yeah.
But look, okay. We know that every year we have a new flu vaccine out, right?
Yes.
We won't have one this year.
Right.
because they have not been able to meet in order to get the formula together. So beware of the flu outbreak
Wow.
in the fall.
Yeah, I heard about
And
that.
also there is talk of a new COVID variant out that that's supposed to be as bad as the first one.
Oh,
Anyway, yeah.
So
and
Guys,
that's
everybody share this video. Why? Call your Congress, call everybody, lottie dottie, everybody.
lottie dottie and everybody.
Get people activated and informed. And even though, as much as I am activated, I will tell you, I just felt so discouraged. And then I feel like I get energy when I talk to a group of people. I feel re-energized, but it's hard. It's hard because the way they've done this crash and burn and shock and awe type of thing, it's very effective
yeah.
psychologically. It is very effective, I have to say.
And sorry, just to riff off of the previous point, people ask about protests in blue cities and whatnot. I think it's just a matter of time because unfortunately, the narrative, from the right is, we don't care about stuff till it affects us, and slowly but surely it is affecting them. And how many people have you seen in the, specifically because it's relevant to this conversation, the Hispanics for Trump thing that suddenly are shocked and use the worn out trope of we didn't vote for this. Sorry, fellas, that's exactly what you voted for.
That's exactly
And the irony of this fake war on DEI, when if you look at just about everybody in his cabinet and just about all the people that have been appointed in various positions
didn't earn it. They did.
Well, but specifically what they describe as DEI, where they attack minorities and all these things. How many people that they put into positions in the cabinet, the chief of staff, all these people, they are exactly who Republicans mean when they say DEI.
Yeah.
And so I think if sooner or later, unfortunately, they're going to have a rude awakening. And it's not anything anybody's wishing for, but it's just an awareness of, the famous quote, first they came for the socialists, but I wasn't a socialist. And then they came for X. And then finally, when they came for me, there was nobody else. And I think it's just a concern people need to have, that things are relevant. When somebody pollutes the pool, everybody's in the same pool. It's not just that they polluted it over there. It's going to get to you.
Right.
At a certain point.
Absolutely. Well, guys, our time is up. I have enjoyed you all. I appreciate you all very, very much. And stay safe. All of us, stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With me,
Stay safe and thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Let's wave off, guys. Good night, everyone.